Please come to order. Good morning. Welcome to the Commissioners of St. Mary's County meeting this date, Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. I am Randy Guy, President of the Commissioners of St. Mary's County. I'd like to introduce the other commissioners. Sitting to my right, representing the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, St. George Island, Mr. Eric Colvin.
Good morning.
Representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown, Hollywood, Mr. Mike Hewitt.
Good morning.
Sitting to my left, representing the 3rd Commissioner District, which includes Charlotte Hall, 7th District, Golden Beach, and Mechanicsville, Mr. John O'Connor.
Good morning.
Representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Mr. Todd Morgan. David Weisskopf, Interim County Administrator, is sitting at the table to my left.
Morning.
Elisa Cassis, our Communications Director, is sitting at the table to my right.
Good morning.
Amy Carter, our video media producer, is behind the glass. Please turn your cell phones off or on vibrate. When you come to the Commissioner's table, please approach by coming down the center aisle. And remember, this meeting is being televised, so you need to speak clearly and directly into the microphone for recording purposes. At this time, everyone please stand. We'll have the invocation and pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this gathering of the commissioners and citizens of St. Mary's County. We ask your blessing on all of us. Please guide us in making the right decisions to help the people of St. Mary's County meet all of our goals of education, emergency services, and transportation. Thank you very much for your day. Amen. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. At this time, we need the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion, please. One of the letters in our consent agenda is being sent to CSM, that's the College of Southern Maryland, concerning their policy on COVID-19. They're still requiring vaccinations of everybody for enrollment and masking, and then those who can't or won't get the vaccination will have to be weekly tested. We are against this policy, and we're sending a letter into them to let them know. And since we do a considerable amount of funding and also support the citizens and the students of St. Mary's County with monies to attend this college, we want them to relook at this policy as soon as possible.
Yeah, Commissioner Guy, I think just want to thank Delegate Morgan for bringing this to our attention. And I fully support anybody who wants to mask. If you desire to mask in order to feel safe, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think this comes down to personal responsibility, and I think we've reached a point where we need to just stress educating people on what their choices are, giving people the choice to make that. And if you're sick with any kind of sickness, be it flu, a cold, strep throat, anything, stay home. I think we've all learned that. Just stay home if you're sick. And CSM is taking steps to address their policy, and I hope that the Board of Trustees will move forward with that. Thank you.
Okay, I have any other discussion?
I just wanted to say, it seems like they're already taking this into account and that it's going to be fixed by their August fall semester.
Yeah.
So is this necessary?
Right, that's what I heard too. But this will give it a little more meat here. Okay, have a first.
I agree with Commissioner Colvin, and you know the thing about it is this is standing in the way of people getting a education at this point, and whether they're talking about the next semester or anything else, they do have the flexibility to react quicker than waiting for the next meeting should they so do so the students that are currently in attendance are not having to comply with this and or worry about anything else going on. So I would encourage that that decision to be made rather than let it linger on and go from there for the next semester.
Okay, I have a first and second on the agenda. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next we have, we're going to go right into a public hearing. The Department of Land Use and Growth Management, public hearing to amend the comprehensive plan land use map to change the land use from rural preservation to rural commercial commerce, and to change the zoning from the rural preservation district to the rural commercial limited zoning district for 2 parcels located at 26470 Three Knots Road, Mechanicsville. Mr. Bill Hunt, the Director of Land Use and Growth Management, will be making the presentation.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
This is a public hearing for an amendment to the comprehensive plan land use map to change the comprehensive plan land use map category from rural preservation to rural commerce, and to change the zoning map from rural preservation district to rural commercial limited zoning district for property located at 26470 Three Notch Road, Mechanicsville. The owners feel the changes are justified to correct a mistake during the last comprehensive zoning in 2010 because the existing commercial uses on the property were overlooked. The property is currently occupied as Buckler's Auto Parts, and before that, it was Ransom Motors. It is improved with commercial and storage buildings to support the current and former businesses. There are permits and certificates of occupancy from 1985, 1998, and 1999. If the owner does want to expand the commercial use on the property or add other uses that might be allowed, they will have to get county and state approval for all of those. The Planning Commission public hearing was held on March 14, 2022. Attorney Chris Longmore explained the request at the Planning Commission public hearing, and there were no comments at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission recommends approval 7-0, and I have a PowerPoint if I may show it.
Okay.
Thank you. Next one. Location, 26470 Three Notch Road. Land use, rural preservation, zoning, rural preservation district. The acreage is about 12 acres. This is a review of a comprehensive plan amendment to change the land use from rural preservation to rural commerce, and a zoning map amendment to change the rural preservation zoning district to the rural commercial limited zoning district. Here you see an aerial of the property, and you'll notice the blue outlines the entire property with a yellow line in the middle, which divides which makes the two parcels. Next. Here's the land use, as I've already mentioned, and also then the next one is the zoning. The current zoning is already discussed. Rural commercial limited in the comprehensive plan land use. These are areas of commercial use along county or state roadways in the RPD at the time of the 2010 comp plan. They provide for the continuation of commercial uses and commercial development of vacant properties where the use and commercial zoning classifications predate the comprehensive plan. As far as the zoning district goes, these are established areas of commercial use along county or state roadways that existed in the RPD at the time of the passage of the 2010 comp plan. They provide for the continuation of commercial uses and for the commercial development of vacant properties where the use and commercial zoning classifications predate the comp plan. The neighborhood description is along MD 235 south of Mechanicsville. The area includes a major transportation corridor, of course, and there is existing commercial development in the region, in the area. Nearby businesses you see listed there, and the Oakville Elementary School is also nearby. The justification for the rezoning request. The subject property is currently occupied as Buckler's Auto Parts and formerly Ransom Motors, as I mentioned. It is improved with permanent commercial buildings that support the current business, and as I said, we have records of COs and permits from 85, 98, and 99. Next. The applicant has stated that the land use designation change will better implement the conceptual land use plan and reflects the implementation of the comprehensive plan. The proposed justification for the amendment is due to a mistake in the 2010 comprehensive plan and subsequent rezoning. The applicant believes the designated land use is a mistake that occurred with the last land use map changes, since the business uses on these properties have existed for a considerable amount of time. Next. There are other properties nearby with rural commerce land use and rural commercial limited zoning, including the property immediately adjacent to the southeast. The land use designation change, along with the rezoning change, would allow the existing uses to continue and be further developed to include similar and related uses. The commissioners will remember that you recently approved the same land use change and same zoning change for property right next door, the Wentworth Nursery property. That was April 26th of this year. The existing commercial uses on the subject property were overlooked during the last comprehensive zoning, and this is the mistake in the zoning that the applicant seeks to correct. The rezoning will allow existing uses to continue and new RCL uses to be added, provided that all approvals are obtained. Are there any questions for me on this?
No. With no questions, we'll move on. David Weiskopf will now provide the format for the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy. Here are the guidelines for the Commissioners of St. Mary's County public hearing for the Department of Land Use and Growth Management to amend the comprehensive plan land use map to change the land use from rural preservation to rural commerce and to change the zoning from rural preservation district to the rural commercial limited zoning district for 2 parcels located at 26470 Three Notch Road, Mechanicsville. All speakers who wish to address the Commissioners in person are asked to fill in the sign-up sheet located in the lobby of the Chesapeake Building. All speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to address the Commissioners. At the end of the 3 minutes, our Communications Director, Ms. Casas, will let you know your time has expired. We ask that you respect the 3-minute time limit in order to give all those who wish to participate an opportunity to be heard. This public hearing is being televised live on St. Mary's County Government TV 95 and the county's YouTube channel. If you should miss any part of this hearing, it will re-air on Channel 95 this Friday, May 27th at 6:30 p.m. and will remain available for on-demand viewing on the St. Mary's County Government YouTube channel. Citizens were provided an opportunity to address the Commissioners via video submissions. Since we did not receive any submissions, we will now begin accepting comments for those who have signed up to speak in person. Julie, do we have anyone signed up to speak in person? And we have Mr. Christopher Longmore representing the applicant.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll be brief this morning and just highlight for the Commissioners. We did pre-submit a PowerPoint presentation that's on Board Docs. We would appreciate, and I'm sure the Commissioners have already reviewed it. I'm going to highlight a few of the slides to supplement what Mr. Hunt shared, because he shared a lot of our position in this and why we believe the changes are appropriate. There's a slide on your screens now of an excerpt of the Maryland State Department of Assessments and Taxation information sheet on this property. And I showed that just to highlight that it indicates that the primary structure was built in 1985. As mentioned, we're asking that this property be rezoned to the RCL zoning district, which requires that it be RPD at the time of the 2010 comprehensive plan, and that it was RPD at the time, and that there was an existing business use. We believe that this supports Mr. Hunt's information shared with you that there were permits issued as early as 1985, as shown there. If we go to the next slide, please. This is a 2003 taken from the county's GIS map just to show the property as it existed at that time. This was 7 years before the last comprehensive plan. And you can see in the middle there is where the business is located, that again now is known as Bucklers, and before it was Ransom Motors, and is owned by my client Guardrail LLC. Just to highlight the next slide as well for the Commissioners, this is another aerial photo, I believe, taken again from the GIS map from 1998 to show that even at that time there's an existing business and commercial use there. So this use and this business has existed for decades on this property. So we would just like to highlight that for you. If we go to the next slide. This is, again, we're just highlighting the purpose of the RCL district. We think that this falls squarely within that purpose. This was an existing business along a state highway that was in the Rural Preservation District. It supports community there and has been part of the community for a long time. It is sandwiched in between 2 other commercial uses as well. So we think that this, like the property that was before you, I believe last month or the month before, is very appropriate for this designation. It'll essentially allow my client to use the existing structures that are on there for other potential uses that are compatible in the RCL, like adding a business use or small commercial uses. But the real significant and impactful uses are generally not allowed in the RCL. So we think this is really the most appropriate designation that will allow them to use their property. If we just flip to 2 slides to the last one I'll highlight. And this is just the excerpt of the 2010 plan. And again, it just highlights what Mr. Hunt had said, that this is an established area of commercial use along a state highway that existed in the RPD at the time of the passage of the plan. We believe this was simply an oversight in the last rezoning of the property, and really probably the one that occurred in 2002 as well, because this business existed sometime and the RCL language was in that ordinance as well. So for that reason, on behalf of my client, we appreciate your consideration of this, and we ask that the Commissioners approve our request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Longmore.
Thank you. Please note that the public comment period will remain open for 7 days until close of business on May 31st. Should the public wish to send an email, you may do so to csmc@stmarysmd.com or U.S. mail to P.O. Box 653, Leonardtown, Maryland 20650. Commissioner President Guy, that concludes our public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Weiskopf. At this time, we will close the public hearing, and it's open write-ins and whatever for the next 7 days. Okay, next we go right into some proclamations that we have. And Commissioners, you come forward, please. Our first one will be, of course, I see we got numerous Coast Guard auxiliaries here and everything, is the safe boating. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Of course, understanding that as this pandemic has lifted the last couple of years, I'm sure the boating this summer is going to be bigger than ever. So you guys have
Sailing, much about boating.
or sailing, whatever you want to call it, but, you know, power boating. For me, it'd be a lot of sailing. So please come forward, all those representing the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary that helps train everybody and hopefully be safe out on the water. I'm glad to see so many of you showed up here. This is great. Wow.
Like you said, the pandemic is over.
Yeah, where's the life vest thing that we used to? Nobody's going to do a demo this time? Oh, God, I always liked that one.
We'll do it next year.
Next year? Okay, good. Okay. This proclamation is being accepted by the members of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. Whereas on average, 600 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the U.S., 79% of these are fatalities caused by drowning. And whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment, and not by the boat, equipment, or environmental factors. And whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today had they worn their life jackets. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby support the goals of the Safe Boating Campaign and proclaim May 21st to 27th, 2022 as National Safe Boating Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating. For those, I wear a life vest before I get on the dock and get in my boat. As an inflatable type, it's very easy to do everything you need to, so there's no excuse. The things are out there, we need to use those. And I thank you all for here today. Signed by all the commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you, President Commissioner Guy. I'm Phil Damaris. I'm the Flotilla Commander of the Solomons Island Flotilla. I'm very honored to be representing just one of the many organizations in St. Mary's County that promotes recreational boater safety. On behalf of all the members of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary from the Central Chesapeake Division 23, Flotilla Number 2, I want to thank all the commissioners for supporting recreational boating safety through today's Safe Boating Proclamation. While most boating trips are enjoyable and safe, tragedy still strikes with alarming frequency. Since the year 2000, there have been over 13,000 boating-related deaths and over 64,000 boating-related injuries, many which could have been prevented if safety precautions were taken. Our flotilla works with the boating community to offer safety training, vessel safety inspections, and we patrol the local waters to assist vessels in distress. Our members volunteer their time to train to be Semper Paratus. Semper Paratus to respond to the needs of the U.S. Coast Guard. Semper Paratus to support our local community. Semper Paratus to assist boaters in distress, and Semper Paratus to educate and train safe boating practices. For those who may not know, Semper Paratus is a Latin phrase and the Coast Guard motto, which translates to always ready and prepared. St. Mary's County and its local waters are a national treasure to be enjoyed and protected. I know today's Safe Boating Week proclamation will bring additional awareness to our community and remind everyone enjoying the Chesapeake and its tributaries to put safety first. Submit your vessel for a free safety check and always wear your life jacket. Please remember to be semper paratus when you take your family and friends out on the water this boating season. Thank you.
I just want to say that this Saturday at 10 o'clock, I'm teaching a 1-hour life jacket class at the Leonardtown Library.
Oh, great, great. Well, we thank you all for being here today, and thank you for your effort to keep all of us safe on the water. Because we got a lot of it around here, about 550 miles surrounding St. Mary's County.
Yes, sir.
And so we do have a lot of boating going on this year, I'm sure, more than ever. I would be boating more than I have the last couple of years. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have the National Historic Preservation Month. I think Mr. Hunt is going to receive, Mr. Ben, is Ben here? I hope he's here. Oh, Ben, I'm sorry, right there looking right at you. Now, you're going to do presentation up here, right? Call everybody up.
What is the proclamation?
I'm sorry, proclamation. I'm sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Here in the middle. There you go. Perfect.
I'm sorry.
All right. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for managing growth, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping us to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as people. And whereas celebrating historic resources and the value historic preservation brings to places, people, and community is the theme for National Historic Preservation Month 2022. Co-sponsored by the St. Mary's County and the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Commissioners for St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim May 2022 as National Historic Preservation Month and call upon the people of St. Mary's County to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance.
I was just going to say that the timing is very, very good for this proclamation because we will be presenting the awards in historic preservation that have been selected by the Historic Preservation Commission immediately following.
Excuse me, can we get a picture, Ben, first?
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
All right. Now it's awards time.
Next, we have the Department of Land Use and Growth Management 2022 Annual Historic Preservation Award selected by the Historic Preservation Commission. You got it.
Thank you all for joining us. My first award is to Kent Rendell. It's a Historic Preservation Service Award for his manuscript on Susquehanna Estate. Pardon me? Okay. Kent Rendell, archivist at St. Mary's College of Maryland, is awarded for his extensive research and subsequent manuscript on Susquehanna Estate and the families connected with it in early St. Mary's County, Maryland history. Mr. Rendell's manuscript was published in a series of 4 articles in the Maryland Genealogical Society Journal. The Rousby era for the Susquehanna Estate, formerly of St. Mary's County, Maryland, from 1669 to 1744, the enigmatic will of John Rousby, genealogical summary of the Rousby family of Maryland and East Riding of Yorkshire, England, and a genealogical summary of the descendants of Captain Henry Carroll, of Susquehanna. Much has been written regarding this early period of Maryland history, and Mr. Randall's research has complemented and increased the documentation of events to give a better understanding of the intrigue and complexity of politics and familial ties. Okay, our next award is for Samuel Baldwin. It's a Historic Preservation Project Award for his John Hanson Briscoe Historical Project. John Hanson Briscoe, a St. Mary's County resident, was a member of one of the old families of St. Mary's County who at one time resided at historic Sotterley. He was also a descendant of John Hanson, the first president of Congress operating under the Articles of Confederation. Like many young local men, Mr. Briscoe went to law school, established a law practice, and threw his hat into the political ring. He eventually rose to be Maryland's Speaker of the House, and then, instead of retiring, went on to become a circuit court judge. John Hanson Briscoe died in 2014, but prior to his death, his son-in-law, Samuel Baldwin, embarked on a project to document his life and contributions. The project took 6 years and grew in scope to include the transformation of St. Mary's County socially, politically, and economically with the establishment of the Patuxent River Naval Air Station in 1943. Sam used a variety of sources, including oral interviews, photographs, newspaper. This work is an outstanding addition to St. Mary's County recent history. Our third award is to All Saints Episcopal Church for their restoration. It's a Historic Preservation Service Award. All Saints Episcopal Church, Oakley Parish, is nestled in the quiet of farm fields of Avenue in Oakley, Maryland. There lies a small church whose history spans almost 400 years. Here we have All Saints Episcopal Church, Oakley Parish, or ASCOP for short. And let's see here. The site of the first All Saints Episcopal Church was located a few miles away from the present site near modern-day Colton's Point about in 1635. The second church was built nearby. The third church was built near the present site in Oakley in 1750. Then the fourth church was built in 1823. This church was All Saints Episcopal Church of King and Queen Parish. It was later torn down to be replaced in 1846 by All Saints Episcopal Church, Oakley Parish, which is believed to be one of the older wood frame structures in southern Maryland, but as it turned out was ravaged by termites, weather, and time. A number of parishioners questioned if the building would need to be condemned and the congregation relocated. This was about the time that the church's condition caught the attention of Don Kropp. Don, can you come on up? Owner of Colony Builders. Kropp was renowned in southern Maryland for his historical restorations of Blackstone Lighthouse on St. Clements Island and Christ Episcopal Church in Chaptica, Maryland. He and his team began the incredible process of shoring up the upper walls, removing and replacing the entire foundation of the 1846 portion of the building and the floors beginning in 2019. The beautiful historic restoration was rededicated and blessed in August of 2021. Congratulations. My final award is for John Richard Knott Sr. His grandson, Sean Knott, will receive the award. Family can come up too. Yes, please. John Richard Knott Sr., 1925 to 2020. During his 95 years in our community, Richard Knott was a farmer, waterman, oyster house operator, buyboat captain, storyteller, historian, and writer who made significant contributions to preservation efforts in St. Mary's County. He and his grandson, Sean Knott, researched, wrote, and compiled books on local history. In 2005, they published Memories of Sodderly, for which they received a 2005 St. Mary's County Historic Preservation Project Award. In 2016, The Good Old Days on the Patuxent was published that recounted many of Richard's recollections of people who worked and lived along the river. Knott also worked with John Mattingly to create an exhibit on Arthur Buck Briscoe that is on display in the foyer of St. Mary's County Land Use and Growth Management offices in Leonardtown. In 2011, they received the St. Mary's County Historic Preservation Service Award for the project. Knott published his third book, titled Arthur Buck Briscoe, Mr. St. Mary's County, in 2017. We celebrate Richard Knott's many contributions to preserving our community's heritage and recording its history.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Very proud. Thank you. These are my kids. I'll never forget that. Thank you. Okay, next we have might say Department of Human Resources Risk Legit Grant Award presentation. Catherine Preston and Mr. Tim Alsworth, Executive Director of Legit. Please come forward. This is our county insurance provider. And, they're here today to give a little presentation and maybe some kind of a refund? Coming up. You got it. I'm going to turn this over to the man in charge of Legit at this time. He tells me he's going to retire soon. We're sorry to see that happen. He's been a great asset to our county, and I appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you very much. I'm the grandson of a buyboat owner, by the way, and runner, but at any rate, which makes me feel sort of at home down here. But I'm here today to present a grant for $2,500 for automated driver training. That's something that we're experiencing at Legit. What Legit is, let me back up by saying, Legit is a pool that is owned and operated by Board of Trustees, which are appointed by our county and municipal owners. We have one of our trustees here today, John O'Connor, commissioner, is on the trustees, and in fact chairs the board that awards these grants, although he did not vote on this one, by the way. But with that said, we've been in existence since 1987, and we currently insure 191 local governments in the state of Maryland. So with that, I'm here. We've had a real problem at Legit with car accidents across the state, and so this is a very timely grant. It's a renewal of a subscription for online driver training, and so with that, I'd like to present Ms. Pratson or Mr. Guy. It's written to the commissioners of St. Mary's County.
I may run for the hills, right?
Ms. Pratson is the person who, and Ellen, are the people who asked for these grants. And we'll let her take care of Rachel.
And Rachel as well, right?
We'll give it to you to take care of.
Thank you, thank you. And if I just may add, we really appreciate the partnership. We really appreciate the partnership with Legit and the work from our risk manager, our employees. Anyone who drives a county vehicle goes through the driver training, and it provides us with the opportunity to be proactive as opposed to reactive. So really appreciate your support and the continuation of the program.
I just want to say one thing. With Tim here, our Department of Public Works and Transportation, Risk Management and Human Resources has done an amazing job working on telematics, which is now, along with the City of Laurel, is the forefront of the Risk Management Committee and has set a trend throughout the entire state of Maryland for a new risk management tool to lower vehicle accidents. And that's exactly what our human resources, risk management, and DPW has done. So I just wanted to say thank you to Legit for supporting those initiatives, and thank you to our team for making it happen and being an example for the rest of the state.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
So do anybody have any questions for Mr. Mansour?
No, photo time.
No, we thank you very much for everything you've done for our county. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I will definitely see you. Yes, sir.
Let's stick around for the first. Yeah. Oh, no, that was.
Okay, next we go right into county administrator time.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy. First up is the draft agendas for June 7th and June 14th. On June 7th, you'll start at your normal time and place, an invocation and pledge by Commissioner Colvin, approval of the consent agenda, one proclamation for the LGBTQIA month, and then Department of Land Use and Growth Management decision to amend the comprehensive zoning ordinance to delete section 51.3.122.a subparagraph 3 for private non-commercial swimming pools as accessory uses in order to allow a property owner to apply for a critical area variance to construct a private non-commercial swimming pool in the critical area buffer. And then at 9:10, you will have a decision from the Department of Land Use and Growth Management to amend the comprehensive plan land use map to change the land use from rural preservation to rural commerce and to change the zoning from the rural preservation district to the rural commercial limited zoning district for two parcels located at 26470 Three Notch Road, Mechanicsville, followed by county administrator time, a commendation for Arthur Shepard's re-retirement, commissioner time, closed session for property acquisition and personnel, and then adjourn. And then on June 14th, we'll have at 8:30 reception for recipients for Employee Years of Service Awards. And then we'll start at 9 a.m. with the invocation and pledge by Commissioner O'Connor, approval of a consent agenda, followed by two proclamations, National Nursing Assistance Week and World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and a commendation for Zane Restat's retirement. And then Department of Human Resources Employee Years of Service Awards, County Administrator time, Commissioner time, closed session for personnel, adjourn, and then we have the outside event here on campus for the 6 o'clock Flag Day. And the first thing on the agenda today is from Circuit Court for the presentation of grant award from the Maryland Administrative Offices of the Courts. And here presenting it today is Lori Tabor Finch from Circuit Court.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Morning.
Judge Stein asked me to send his regrets. He wanted to be here, but he had to be in Annapolis, so he sent me instead.
We see where his priorities are.
That is fine. That is fine.
The Office of the Administrative Office of the Courts annually give us a application to apply for security grant funds, and this time we are requesting $3,928.86 for security improvements for the courthouse. They have given us that award, and we're asking the county commissioners to accept it and to sign the MOU so we can start spending the money.
I move to approve the Circuit Court Security Grant Award from the Maryland Administrative Office of the Courts on behalf of the Circuit Court for St. Mary's County for courthouse security improvements in the amount of $3,928.86 and authorize the Commissioner President to execute the related documents.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Finch. Next, from the Department of Finance to approve budget amendments, revenue and expense realignment, Ms. Jeanette Cudmore, Director of Finance, presenting.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
So we are here in St. Mary's County, FY22. We're doing the 23 later. We'll finish up the 22 first. Was approved by you on May 25th, 2021. Annually, Finance identifies any additional revenues collect and department shortfalls. The approved budget for recordation tax estimated at $6.7 million in collections through March have exceeded this estimate. With the current economy and increased cost for materials and energy, the department have identified shortfalls through June 30th in their current budget. Additional funds were already updated in the FY 2023 budget. We have a request for $184,000 from the Recreation and Parks, $479,764. Human Resources Risk Insurance to pay the bill, the last quarterly bill, $29,238. Emergency Services Billing Fund of $304,000. Economic Development for the ferry, $15,000.
So technically, that's not a shortfall, that's a new request.
That's a new request, exactly, thank you, that you approved last week. And Board of Elections, additional for the primary, $39,400, totaling $1,051,402. Now, a lot of these requests I had received earlier this spring and winter, but I told them I had to take care of the snow first. So now we're coming and try to shore up the funds in their budgets. And so there's actually 7 budget amendments. The first one is for, that would increase the recordation tax revenue and your CSMC emergency reserve expense by $1.5 million. And after the CSMC reserve is increased, then approve the budget amendments for the above departments for expenses and shortfalls through June 30th, decreasing your reserve. And currently your reserve is at $100,801. And I have the departments here that can come forward in the letters, should you need.
I move to approve the budget amendments increase in FY 2022 recordation tax revenue budget and various department requests by reducing the CSMC emergency reserve and authorize the Commissioner President to execute the related documents.
Second.
Discussion. What did you say the Commissioner reserves at?
We're currently at $100,000.
Even?
$100,801.
Okay.
And that's after the snow that we took care of. And hopefully we'll want to have to do that next year.
And the question about the recordation.
Yes, sir.
That was running ahead of schedule. Is that still the case?
Correct.
So
that's why this extra revenue, I can increase the revenue estimate and the expense estimate in your emergency reserve at the same time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioners?
No.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Ms. Cudmore.
Thank you, Ms. Cudmore. Next is from the Department of Public Works and Transportation with DMTU LLC lease agreement extension. We have Director Jim Gotch presenting, Steve Bildman, President of DMTU, and Allison Swint, the Airport Director.
Mr. Billman, it's a pleasure to see you in St. Mary's County. Thank you.
Good morning. We're requesting approval of an extension of a lease for DMTU at the airport. They're leasing 4 buildings at the airport right adjacent to the terminal, and they're getting ready to put over $600,000 of maintenance into these buildings, and so the extension of the lease would help them recoup the costs of what they're spending to repair the buildings. So they're replacing 2 roofs on 2 of the buildings. They're replacing the hangar doors on 2 buildings and replacing the floor in one of the buildings that you had asked about before. And so this lease extension will help cover their cost.
Move to approve the DMTU LLC lease and operating agreement addendum to extend the lease agreement 5 additional years for building repairs and authorize the Commissioner President to sign any related documents.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you all.
Do the good work you're
Thanks
doing.
for your work.
Thank you. Next is also from the Department of Public Works and Transportation, the Adult Detention and Rehabilitation Center State Grant Agreement, Director Jim Gotch and Gary Whipple.
Morning.
Okay, this request is for you to approve the grant award that we have received from the state. We had come before and asked for your approval to apply for the last grant, which was about $1.8 million. And we were awarded the grant, and so we're just asking for your approval for the acceptance of the grant. This is the final grant for the detention center, and there's the grant award money, you see some budget amendments in here where we're moving money from what we thought the state was going to award in grant money, put it back in the fin, requested money back out of the fin for the money that it takes to finish up the detention center. But everything, the overall budget of the detention center stayed the same throughout all this.
Very good. I move to approve the state grant award in the amount of $1,856,000 in support of the Adult Detention and Rehabilitation Center, and the budget amendments transferring $240,785 from the Adult Detention Center upgrades to the FY22 capital reserve, and have the Commissioner President sign any related documents.
Second.
Discussion? Anybody? Okay, I got a first and second. All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Thank
Any
you.
rejection?
Thank you.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is from the Department of Economic Development on streamlining St. Mary's County development review process. Director Chris Casalemas presenting.
Good morning, Mr. Castellanos.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Weiskopf. I'm going to go through a short PowerPoint, and then I can answer any questions, and also Mr. Hunt, who's here with us, can answer questions. This is not an action item, just a presentation. Just a little background. St. Mary's County's had a long-standing interest in taking steps to streamline the development approval process to ensure that the private sector development work is not unnecessarily delayed. In 2016, the county hired Zucker Systems, a national consulting firm, to comprehensively review the county's development review process and make recommendations. This was the report. It was thick. There were 207 recommendations. The county immediately began to implement those recommendations with an interdepartmental team, also with outside agencies. In January 2020, the county hired a new position titled Development Facilitator. That position was placed in our department, and that position, we also oversaw the Zucker System study. And Casey Guidry filled that position, and Casey is over my left shoulder there. And if you haven't met her yet, she's been here for a couple of years. Her position, she works between review agencies to help to mitigate issues. She shares information. She helps both sides get to the new development projects and get them completed. She also has other important responsibilities related to zoning, ordinance research, and helping businesses find land and buildings to purchase or lease. She also has the responsibility to continually look at the process and see if we can make recommendations for improvements. And she works very closely with Land Use and Growth Management, and specifically with Brandy Glenn, who's here today. So with that, I'll go through the quick PowerPoint. Next slide, please. So the main recommendation here deals with the Technical Evaluation Committee, and I think most of you know this, but just to go over it quickly, the Technical Evaluation Committee includes representatives from Land Use and Growth Management, the Health Department, Public Works, Metcom, SHA, and Soil Conservation. Next slide, please. Their current process is that the applicant submits their project to LUGM by the first Wednesday of the month. Submissions that are made after that Wednesday have to get moved to the next month. So the meetings are the fourth Wednesday of the month. So you've got that window there, but you need to get it submitted by the first Wednesday. Comments are then dispersed to the applicant in the following week. Agencies have 15 days to review the proposals, and applicant resubmits revisions to all agencies for review. Next slide, please. So what we're proposing is eliminate the requirement for the formal TEC meeting. So there's still a TEC review process, but there's no formal meeting. So currently, it happens at LUGM. The agencies show up. They kind of go over the review comments. But you do have that hard deadline of making sure you submit comments so you can meet that meeting. So what we're recommending is the applicants can submit their projects to LUGM at any time, and the review process will then begin. So it's kind of a rolling review. For initial review, the TEC agencies will have 20 working days to submit written comments, and subsequent reviews will be cut in half to 10 working days. The LUGM planner will provide the applicant with the comments, and the applicant will resubmit their plans directly to Land Use and Growth Management. Also, standard review times will be established and results by agency will be tracked and published. Some agencies, I know like Public Works already does track their review times, but some don't. The other thing is that we'd like to promote pre-submittal meetings more heavily. They are used. Pre-submittal meetings just before somebody submits a complicated project. They sit down with review agencies and kind of get some feedback before they actually submit it. That is available and is used now, but we want to make sure that people know that that's available and it's a little more heavily used. And although many of these changes were part of the Zucker assessment, it was recognized that the recommendations will be implemented over a period of time. So not everything got implemented right away. So all the agency review requirements are still in place. And if an applicant doesn't want to have a TEC meeting, that slot will still be available to them. The first thing, again, they'd have to submit by those requirements of the first Wednesday. And there's also a new form that applicants can fill out to request a meeting that's been created. Outreach. We met with all the TEC review agencies to discuss these changes and get input and feedback. And we work obviously very closely with LUG, and this is really a collaborative process between us and Land Use and Growth Management. We held meetings also with outside agencies, the engineering firms who frequently navigate the TEC process. And it was pretty much concurrent that this was, that we did not need to have mandatory TEC meetings anymore. So it's an unnecessary step. Agencies are happy that they will be able to submit at any time. And, you know, one of the things that they told us was many times you have a consultant who's responsible for submitting plans, and the owner will kind of pressure them to, hey, make sure you meet it by this, get it in by this Wednesday, because I don't want to wait another month. So sometimes the plans are a little bit rushed, and they were pretty honest with us, saying sometimes our plans aren't the best they could be because we're trying to meet that deadline. This will give us a little more time to make sure the plans are complete and really well done. It takes us, you know, not that first Wednesday, maybe it takes them a couple more days, and the review process will begin immediately. This came from the Zucker study, that there's a realistic goal of completing at least 90% of reviews will be completed on time. LUGM will track and publish the agency turnaround times. This is already available through the software that we have. So it's just, they'll just kind of publish that by agencies, and we'll know, again, we're only going to be tracking the time it's in the agency's hand, not the time it's in the consultant's hand. Next slide, please. And I already mentioned this in terms of the TEC meetings still available if they want them. Next slide, please. That's just the pre-submittal form that we came up with. And I think that's the last one. So I just want to thank Brandy Glenn and Bill Hunt and Casey Guidry for kind of working on this and trying to make improvements. I mean, I think it's important that the county continue to look at their process. We know it's important to the private sector to not waste their time. So this is just, maybe it won't save a lot of time, but I think we'll get higher quality plans and save a few steps. And I think it's important for our staff and also for the private sector.
Any questions, Commissioner?
Yes, I have a couple.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The TEC process is something I'm familiar with, been done a couple projects myself. And what I'm saying here is that that's typically several agencies that need to get together at one time. So what you're going to be doing is getting away from that process. And I'm not saying I disapprove of it. I just wonder if you're going to be able to get all those agencies, is it going to be Zoom? How would you get potentially DPW, State Highway if you needed them, or any, because what I've heard is that people who present projects to TEC, that sometimes they don't get the level of detail that they need to move forward. And what I mean by that is that they'll go in and this is an exaggeration, but it's been said you can bring an idea in on a napkin and let them look at it, and they'll look, well, do we have adequate schools? Do we have adequate roads? Do we have adequate public facilities? Those types of things. Then they go and, excuse me, engage an engineer. Now, game changer, thousands of dollars, depending on the complexity of the problem. So what I worry about is and then once they engage an engineer, incur those fees, now they run into the details of, wait a minute, now you need to change this, you need to do that. I'm just afraid that what's going to happen here is that, I shouldn't say afraid it's going to happen. I want to avoid someone coming in with an idea that they think they can do. Let's take an example of U-Haul on Great Mills Road. They got an email that said they could do what they wanted to do. And after spending $6 million and all, they were tied up for 2 years trying to get what they wanted to do.
Right.
Spent over $1 million in legal fees, and that's the type of stuff or the type of items that could be checked out at technical evaluation committee before these people engage this type of money.
Commissioner Hewitt, I think what you're speaking to really can happen at a pre-submittal meeting. So you talked about something being submitted on a napkin, somebody with an idea. The idea, and then, of course I'll invite Bill or Brandy to come up and help with this, but the idea of a pre-submittal meeting is you come in with an idea and say, here's what I want to do at U-Haul or whatever, and you get those review agencies around the table to exchange ideas and say, this is going to work, this is not going to work. I think what happens right now at the TEC meetings is that's a time where they sit around and pretty much the review agencies read their comments. And many times the applicant isn't even in those meetings. So that kind of collaboration and that exchange doesn't typically happen at the TEC meeting itself. It happens at a different time. But again, the pre-submittal is the time really that we would recommend they get together and say, hey, I'm going to submit this. It's going to be an expensive, complicated project. What ideas do you have? What am I missing? What do I need to do? And I'll let Brandy.
You explained it perfectly.
Yeah.
The TEC meeting really isn't productive right now. The pre-application meeting will be, because we'll flesh out what you just said the problems might be. The TEC meeting is what's happening, we're just reading our comments. That's just not productive. If an agency is reviewing a project and they have a question, we can talk anytime. Anytime. They can pick up the phone, we can email. I prefer email because we have a trail. We can save that. So I don't see this. I think this is going to be a benefit.
Well, no, I'm not trying to say it's not a benefit. I was with an engineer yesterday that talked about a project that he's working on for a potential contractor for a county project. And the point was, he said, look, we don't have the right zoning where you want to put this thing. You're asking for water service, and there's no water service around. He said, it must be nice to be the king and say, these rules don't apply to everybody else, but because you're the county, you can do what you want to do. And I guess my point is, it's inconsistent, and that's where I'm going. So, look, I'm not out to give you a hard time. You do a great job, Brandy. And I'm just trying to say that these things need to make sure we have these agencies available to tell you, okay, you have these available. You have water and sewer, you have the great zoning,
Absolutely.
You have the school seats.
And that can happen through email, phone calls, or with a pre-submittal meeting. And remember, you can still have a TEC meeting. So if you have a pre-submittal meeting and you want to have that TEC formal meeting and have those agencies there and you show up, that's still an option for you. Just let Brandy know how you want to have a TEC meeting.
Right, and we'll set it up.
Yeah.
And now we'll have a designated time of the month to have these pre-application meetings. We won't have to scramble to figure out what works for everybody. We'll know what works.
Okay,
because
the
this
last
when
thing
we
is,
have
this
it.
will all be sent out to engineers we deal with. It'll be on our county website. It'll be some kind of a public announcement so that people who are involved in development business understand this is
Know
the
the
new
change.
rules.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
So just one question. How often have you utilized pre-submittal meetings in the past?
Quite often.
Okay.
I have one coming up on Thursday.
Okay. No, I think this is great. I like this presentation. I like the shift to helping people achieve their dreams, because that's what your office does. You help people achieve their dreams for what they want to do. So thank you. This is
I'm
good.
excited about it.
Yeah.
Chris, if you can do me one favor, Linda reached out to me and is trying to get in touch with your office. If you could personally reach out to her and get her in touch with the SBDC about her business relocation and all the resources that are available from the county, as well as SBDC, I'd appreciate that, just to lay it out,
And Commissioner O'Connor, Linda's Cafe.
Yes.
So we have been in contact with her, have over the years, and just more recently, we had somebody, Lee Greeley from our office, talk to her actually last week.
Yeah.
And she's looking for some spaces, and she's open to having a little bit of help too. And she's in contact with SBDC, so we're pretty close, because we know it's an important establishment. We want to keep it viable, so we've been working with Linda's.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
So when will this take effect?
I'm thinking our formal last TEC meeting could be June. We could do this as soon as July.
Excellent.
Good.
I'm just glad to see that the Zucker report is getting some, I've been saying it for a number of years, and I think this is the first meaningful action that I've seen on the Zucker report so far, so I'll compliment you on that. And I think it's a good first step forward to, improving the efficiency and effectiveness of county government with all the people who always have something bad to say. We are doing positive things, and that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is from the Office of the County Attorney regarding real property or railroad right-of-way easement agreement. Deputy County Attorney Neil Murphy presenting.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I'm here this morning for a request that the commissioners sign a railroad right-of-way easement agreement. The history of this project is, so as you know, we have the railroad right-of-way in connection with the Recreation and Parks Department that runs from the north to the south part of the county. Part of that, as part of a perpetual easement with that, SMECO requires that if any lines are going to be going from the railroad right-of-way to other properties, that SMECO be involved in the project and sign off on any easements. So what happened here is Medcom reached out to our office because the Nissan in Lexington Park needed to connect to public water and sewer. While they do have an easement for part of their property that was granted to the previous property owner in 2014, where Medcom actually wants to hook up is just a little bit further north, so it's outside of the original easement. So as part of our process, we reached out to DPW. They approved it, and SMECO also approved and executed the railroad right-of-way easement agreement that's in front of you. So it's between us, SMECO, and Nissan Lexington Park, but the actual business owner, which is the Address LLC.
They're not currently hooked up to water and sewer?
They must be, but where they want to, I presume they are, based on the fact that it's still
That
there.
was my question, too.
Yeah, but they want to add an additional line, so they reached out to Medcom reached out to us, and we advised them on the means by which they could add another line. So there's an existing manhole just north of where the original easement ends. So imagine this is north. They want to connect a new manhole there and a line from the new
Is
area.
it like a new building or something? I'm not trying to.
No. Honestly, I don't really know.
It makes sense. If I was already hooked up to Medcom,
I would hope so, based on the fact that it's been there for a while.
Can I jump in?
Please.
Okay, so the Nissan property is bisected by the railroad right-of-way. So they're connected to the front. There's water and sewer out at 235. So they're connected to the water and sewer out front. The piece in the back is where the easement's coming from sewer from the back to the sewer that runs in the railroad right-of-way.
Okay, I'm on property right in that area, but I remember the sewer did run down the right-of-way, so you're saying that's where they'll hook up?
Correct, exactly.
Now, it's always been the case that they wouldn't, the county discouraged easements over that right-of-way. So A, you can't build anything on it. That's true, I would assume. Secondly, all they're going to be able to do is have vehicular traffic that goes from, say, point A to point B if they have to go across it, or is this just an easement to hook up another sewer line?
So it's an easement to hook up another line from the existing Medcom line to this the back property. We've been in contact with Rex and Park because they're the ones who manage the right-of-way. They're going to detour during the construction phase, which they estimate to take about a week. Rex and Park will detour the traffic elsewhere, so it's not involved in the construction area on the railroad right-of-way itself.
Can you help me? What you mean? Define detour traffic.
So detour. So
for the trail.
For the trail, that's what I mean. Rather, thank you.
Oh, okay.
The trail traffic. My apologies for the lack of specificity. Thank you, Commissioner Morgan.
I move to approve the railroad right-of-way easement agreement between the Commissioners of St. Mary's County and 22757 Three Notch Road LLC, doing business as Nissan of Lexington Park, and authorize Commissioner Guy to execute the related documents.
Second discussion, Commissioner Morgan.
Yeah. So the hookup is behind Nissan back towards Hickory Hills, so where the water tower is. Right. The new water tower, am I right? It's not on the 235 side, it's on the back side.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay. Now, you said detour traffic. My concern has repeatedly been, and I can ask for enforcement, it's just happening a little bit, this is not going to allow cars and trucks to be getting off-ramped on 235 and then moved into the Nissan dealership, is it?
No, my apologies for the.
That's okay.
For the lack of clarification. It was traffic meant to the foot and other traffic on the 3-notch trail, not, because it's going
Nothing affecting traffic on 235. It's
What I meant,
a little
that's
bit of
correct.
a
That's correct.
perturbation on the 3-notch trail, which really doesn't get a lot of use back there except for some walkers.
Yeah, when you mean detour, you mean detour during the construction.
During the construction, which
Right,
would
so
take
there's nothing that's going to be detoured after they go ahead and put blacktop back
That's our
down.
understanding from Rexon Park, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So, and that phase will take about a week. They'll do whatever they need to do, probably route it around that, and then continue.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Murphy, the
Thank you for that
final thing I'll
question,
ask you is,
Mr. Morgan.
have we established a policy on going across the railroad right-of-way? Is it like no problem anymore?
How do you mean? So I guess the policy would be, we would need to speak with DPW&T, get their approval, consult with SMECO, who owns the easement next door, and then the adjacent property owner that
Will
would
we
be
call it a
affected.
case-by-case?
My understanding is it's case by case based on commissioner approval.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Commissioners? I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next, from the Office of the County Attorney, is the Economic Development Commission, the addition, I think, of a alternate member. Is that correct?
That's correct. So again, this, I believe, came from a request from the commissioners to allow for an alternate voting member. And the language was added in B, the final line of 157.3B in the resolution before you, that says the Commissioner of St. Mary's County may designate one or more alternate members from the citizens of St. Mary's County to sit on the Economic Development Commission in the absence of any voting member of the EDC.
I move to amend Section 157-3 of the Code of St. Mary's County, Maryland, to add an alternative member of the Economic Development Commission, authorize Commissioner President to sign any related documents.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. Next up, from the Department of Recreation and Parks, is the partnership between Recreation and Parks and the St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Arthur Shepard presenting with Jessica Hale. Morning. And Captain Yingling.
Morning.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner. This is just an opportunity, actually, when the sheriff initiated this, with this mandated fitness training for the sworn officers. Well,
That wasn't initiated by the sheriff, was it?
No, that was initiated by the state.
oh, yeah, that wasn't, but the use of the Wellness and Aquatic Center, correct. So the Wellness and Aquatic Center, is here, right here in Leonardtown, right here around headquarters, after-hours use. So the plan would be that the staff that would have a facility there to reach this mandate level of fitness. So then with the plan of after-hours use, communicated with the vice president of the college, in discussion with Captain Yingling and the sheriff, Jessica here, how could all that work? Well, after hours, Bob Kelly, IT, Crestlock service, swipe cards, getting in and out. Community college feels safe with the sheriff's office being on site, and we think we can manage through that. Then there's just a fee here to be charged, a flat fee throughout the year, as you see in the email memo. And what that does is we wanted to protect against crowd control. In other words, we have our citizens, our users that need to be in there. Also, wear and tear on equipment, and the maintenance plan is there. And we feel like this is a fair balance in the beginning, and we can get started on that as soon as the lock system's available. We wanted to just have this discussion with you, make you aware. And then also, what we would do is we would get into the agreement that we get in with other community users about dates, times, and specifics regarding their use. So that's what I'm looking forward to today, is just communicating that with you, having a discussion with the captain, and then we move forward with an agreement at a later time.
So I think this is a great partnership. I really like this. Not going to be using this pool?
No.
Swimming's good exercise, too?
It is great exercise, but that requires lifeguards.
Gotcha.
Any other questions, Commissioners?
It's good. Thank you all.
Solid plan, good. Thank you, Captain England, appreciate you.
That was information only, right?
Yes, thank you all for that.
Next is the, from Recreation and Parks, the Gymnastics Center lease, Fourth Amendment to the lease.
Now, this does require action today. As you know, the lease agreement expires, is terminated on May 31st, just here in a few days. This now, the facility is under new management. So then we got our last data about square footage costs, all the costs that are related to it. And so now, still in the exploratory and the negotiation stage, they have agreed to go into a 2-month amendment, so there's time for more discussion and negotiation and exploration for where the final site and the appropriate use of this space here. So today what I'm asking you to do is authorize this Fourth Amendment 2-month lease agreement extension with the same terms as it were possibly working under the Third Amendment.
So just one question. Never mind, it's written right here. Enterprise Fund. Got it.
Magic word.
I move to approve and authorize the Commissioner President to sign the fourth addendum to the lease for the Gymnastics Center between the county and the Pax River Village Center, LLC.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shepard. And that concludes the county administrator time. And next up is main agenda items.
Okay. We're going right into the Department of Finance, St. Mary's Metropolitan Commission, approval of fiscal year 2023 capital improvement budget and fiscal year 2024-2028 capital improvement plan. Being presented by, is Mr. Erickson here?
Well, I think we have a
Like
problem.
we're slightly ahead of schedule.
You're 45 minutes ahead of schedule.
Oh, my goodness, okay.
Start with the county's budget, maybe?
Yeah, we could do that. We can move into that instead.
Okay.
So we'll go to the Department of Finance, Commissioner St. Mary's County sets rates and approved fiscal year 2023 operating and capital budget.
Thank you very much. All righty, Commissioners. 9 budget work sessions starting in November, and here we are. So let's go through the package. Page 1, we start off with the revenue tax ordinance. This sets our tax rates. Okay. You can see on page 2, we have at the top, we've got .07 is the amount of the tax due at the second installment that the Treasurer's Office collects when they pay their property tax bills. If you go to page 5, this is where you're setting your new income tax rate at 3%, and that'll be effective January 1, 2023. Brings you back to your tax year 19 rate. So that's a big accomplishment. Page 6 sets your development impact fee, and this is the 5th year of the phased rate. So that'll be effective July 1st, and then for 2024, as you know, that's when we'll start with the excise tax. So included in this budget is consulting fees that we'll use to actually establish that excise tax for FY 2024. So this is the last for the impact fee. Okay. We'll go into the appropriation ordinance. It's your expense budget by spending unit. You can see that on page 8. And we start, of course, the county departments are listed first at $81 million. Then on the second page, the elected officials at $67 million. State agencies and independent boards at $137 million, which includes the Board of Ed, the biggest one there at $121 million. Your other government cost at $15.9 million. Page 10, we go to the, includes the transfers and reserves at the top, bringing your total general fund budget to $324,829,819. Then we go into the enterprise and special revenue funds, all combined, they total $25.4 million. Then at the bottom of page 10, we start with your CIP budget. And they're broken down by project type. So public facilities is at $4.1 million. Highways on page 11 at $25 million. Public landings at $355,000. land conservation at 7.5, recreation parks at 13 million, and the Board of Ed is at the top of page 12 at 18.7 million. And of course, that includes all funds. And then bringing the total capital improvement fund to 68.8 million. And then also with the approval on page 12 includes your plan for your CIP out to FY 2028, June 30, 2028. Okay? Page 14 is the signature page for our approved budget book. Okay? 15 is the actual FY 2023 approved budget summary. It lists the general fund starting at the top. Then we go into the enterprise funds, the special revenue funds, and then we go into the other operating funds by the independent boards. And that last column for the approved, they will be updated from the independent boards after they resubmit their final budget to us, now that they'll know what their total budget is. And then this also shows the $68.8 million for CIP. We go into the highlights, and the general fund budget totals, like I said, $324 million, which is $36.1 million, 12.5% more than your FY 2022 approved. Your property tax rate is still at 0.8478. Again, your income tax rate was reduced to 3%. Page 17, your other local taxes was $12.3 million, which is an increase of 2.4, primarily for the increase of the recordation tax. And then we go into the highway user is at 1.8 million, and this will start increasing in the FY 2024 based on legislation that was approved in Annapolis this session. State and federal grants are projected to be $27.5 million in the 2023, and this includes the second half of the American Rescue funding of $11 million. Okay. Page 18, the approved budget includes the use of $25 million of unassigned fund balance for solid waste and recycling, PAYGO, emergency services support fund, PAYGO, emergency services billing fund, PAYGO, capital improvement, PAYGO, and non-recurring operating in the general fund. Page 18 goes into the county departments. Elected officials start at the top. On page 19, board and state agencies and other budget costs. Page 20, transfers and reserves. Total PAYGO going to other funds is $22.5 million. Now, listed for the emergency billing is the $2,054,000. Not all of that is coming from your fund balance. For that fund, general fund recurring revenue was used at $1.6 million, and then the fund balance that was used was only $408,970 to that fund, leaving a remaining of the $25 million going to a fund balance used for non-recurring in the general fund of a little over $4 million. Page 21. This is the general fund revenues, and you can see the chart above. We list all of the different funding sources at the bottom, but the chart only reflects the excluding the fund balance amount of $299 million. So you can see the primary, your revenues are coming from local income tax at 43%, and your property taxes are at 41.28%, their share of this total budget. Okay. Page 22, this is your actual revenue summary, and you can see on this page you've got the American Rescue. This is the second year of the American Rescue at the 1123, and then your other financing sources. And on the bottom you'll see the total general fund, our real revenues is really $299 million, but if you back out the American Rescue, it's only $288 million. And that's really a little over the 286 that was your actual in 2021. Okay? Then we go into all the details revenues, and I won't read all of these, and I know you're happy about that. And page 29, we go into the FY 2023 expenditures. This is the chart similar to what we did with the revenues. We backed out the amount of fund balance to bring it to a 299. So it shows a more realistic of the funding that's being given to the Board of Education. Their share of this budget is 40.53%, and then the sheriff is at 19.03, consistent with past year's funding. Okay. Then we go into the expenses. We have the expense summary on page 30, and you can see that the departments, it shows, if you look at emergency services in the departments, you can see how they've really increased, and the FY 2021 includes all of the CARES grant revenue for them. And then, of course, the 22 and the 23 approved also includes the $11 million for each year. That's why their amounts are so much higher than usual. The Office of Sheriff is getting an extra $3.4 million, 6.2% increase, and the Board of Education is getting $121.5 million, which is an increase of almost $7 million at 6.1%. Then we have all the detail expenses. And we will skip back to page 46, which is our multi-year general fund operating budget. And again, this shows that we are, if you look at the bottom, and the difference between amount available after operating impacts, you can see FY 2024, we're down to $1.2 million, okay? So it's still going to be tight. But this reflects all the removal of the non-recurring in the 2024, all the American Rescue's out of there, the fund balance is no longer out of there. So that'll be our real revenues going forward, okay?
It is tight.
It is tight, yes. So we'll have to look at that next year when we get, and we'll go through and
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Thinking in.
I know.
So our reserves will stay at 15% or above?
Yes, yes. So the amount that we are using in this budget should maintain our 15% and above. That was the amount that was identified.
We had about 16.1, 16.2, something like that. I see Jody shaking her head, but I think, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like 16%.
Yeah, right. No, I remember seeing that number.
Right,
okay.
Right. Okay. So hopefully that'll maintain, and we'll see how we end up after the FY22 audit, and then we'll come back in December and let you know what your new percentage is and how much the fund balance is at that time.
And actually, that's a pretty aggressive amount.
It is.
Compared to what our rating agencies would like to see.
Yes, they would like to see us have a higher reserve.
About 25%.
Right.
What they'd like to see you have.
Well, sure they do, but I mean, we've got to think about what's reasonable.
But to keep our bond rating down,
I remember going to a MACO meeting where Baltimore City was trying to get to 8. They were at 5.
We're doing a great job.
We're way ahead of this thing. 15's always been a number.
That is the best practice.
That's the best practice.
That's the best practice.
Yeah.
So, and you guys do a great job. St. Mary's is.
We've been aggressively keeping it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've always, you follow your policies, and that's what's important.
Good.
And the rating agencies appreciate that too.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do or not.
Well,
they probably don't, but
we like to think they
should be
do.
able to shoot our horn that we do a good job doing this.
We like to think they do. Okay, so you can see on page 46, you can see what I was talking about on emergency services, how it goes from the 21.4 million and it drops to the 10. That's with the removal of the American Rescue. Okay, so the revenue and the expenses will be removed going forward because it's non-recurring. Okay. Page 47, we start with our enterprise fund, Recreation and Parks Enterprise. And you can see they're pretty much breaking even with their revenues and expenses at $193. Page 48 is the Solid Waste and Recycling Fund, and their expenses are $5.8 million. Page 49 is the Wicomico Shores Enterprise Fund, and their expenses are $1.6 million. And this is a fund that we constantly will watch with their revenues and expenses with the ending deficit in FY 2021 actual. Miscellaneous Revolving Fund, this is a combination of multiple departments and elected officials that make up that fund. Page 51 is our Special Assessments Fund, the listing, and then these special assessments are included when the treasurer sends out the bills for whatever the departments are, the neighborhoods. Okay, Emergency Services Support Fund. Your expenses are at $6.8 million, and again, you put $3 million to this fund to help pay for the LoSAP, and you can see the LoSAP amount is at $3 million. And then this fund is also providing $1.2 million as pay-go to your Emergency Services Billing Fund, okay, which is on page 53. This fund, the total expenses are now at $5.2 million. And again, at the top where your revenues are for this fund, it shows the pay-go from the general fund. And I'll repeat that we'll break this down when it gets in the budget book, but the recurring revenue that was used from your general fund funded $1.6 million, and your fund balance only provided $408,000. And that's because of, for the equipment, the one-time items, okay? Fire tax is on 54 plus rescue on 55. There were no rate changes on these for those funds. Our capital starts on page 56. This is just FY 2023, and it's broken out by the highways, and it matches what's on the appropriation ordinance. And if you look at page 57, you can see the total $68.8 million, and it's broken out by funding source. Okay. Page 58 starts your approved 2023 with the plan out to FY 2028. Okay. And your 59 shows your total bonds, and those bonds are the amount that are included on your debt capacity. Okay, and then your transfer tax, we review the collections each year, and you'll notice that we did put $11 million of transfer tax in this FY 2023 with the average of $8 million that was included for the out years. And again, that's we'll review that next year at this time to determine if there's any additional collections that could go there. Yes, sir.
I think the key is keep an eye on interest rates.
We do.
Secondly, I mean, as far as this transfer tax, because this,
yeah.
you know, I'm very sensitive to that. But my point is that we keep an eye on interest rates, because as they go up, these mortgages are going to get more expensive. There'll be less buying.
Exactly.
The real estate market can cool off, but I was at a meeting last night, and I was sitting next to a realtor, and she said the main point is there's no inventory. Yep. And the reason there's no inventory is because people don't want to sell, because they can't replace what they have.
Exactly.
With an upgrade going forward. So it's an interesting dilemma. We need to be careful next year.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Thank you. Page 60 is our operating impact for the capital improvements, and that's also included. You'll see that bottom line is included in the multi-year. Okay. Page 61 is your debt capacity. Of course, in FY22, you did not sell bonds. You sold bonds in 2021, and now the plan is, you approved the resolution last week to the 17th, yeah, that was last week, to approve the bond sale that's in FY 2023, which we plan to sell in July. Okay?
Our margin's what, $1.85 on this debt service?
Yes, your outstanding debt as a percent of the base is 1.03.
But the max is 185.
Yes, 1.89%.
89. All right,
yes.
thank you.
Okay. And then, of course, you have your bonds that are on here. Your average bonds each year is about $25.5 million, okay? And then your second affordability measure is at the bottom, and that includes your debt service as a percent of your revenues. And that's, your policy is to keep that below 10%, and your highest year is actually in FY 2028 at 5.95%. So you are way under your debt affordability measures to sell bonds. And that's all the way out through FY 2028. So county does have low debt. Page 82.
Say that again?
The county does have low debt.
And we're way below what the debt ratio is?
Absolutely.
Which would actually mean that the budget and the debt is conservative in
Yes, sir.
nature to the growing rate of the county.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, page 62. 2 pages for FTEs that you've approved. So we start off on page 62 with the Aging and Human Services Department, starting at the top. We work our way down. You can see that looking at county attorney with the new Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee, we're adding FTEs, but these are non-benefited FTEs. These are board FTEs, okay? But we still have to add them into our budget book, into our listing of positions. Emergency services in total are adding 33 positions. 19 for the emergency services billing and 14 primarily for the animal shelter. Okay. Public Works and Transportation is another big department that's adding FTEs. We're adding about 14.6 FTEs to this department and 5 FTEs for the Sheriff's Office, bringing the total on page 63 at 75.1 FTEs. Page 64 is our schedule of pay differentials, premium pay and insurance premiums, FY 22, and that should be FY '23. Always find something. So this really, the top part is pretty consistent on what we've had in past years. When we get to the cost of living COLA, the FY 2023, there's 3% for non-sworn employees. Okay. 1-step merit increase for county employees, sworn, law, and corrections personnel. 2.5% stipend for non-sworn employees at the top of grade. And this is a big change because in past years it was just $500. So now it's equivalent to a merit increase at 2.5% increase. 6.5% pay adjustment for sworn law enforcement, and the new corrections officer scale is approximately a 6.5% increase also. For the minimum wage, there's going to be a 6% hourly employee pay scale increase on July 1st. And then the 6% enterprise employee pay scale will increase January 1, 2023. And that's for the phased-in minimum wage, where we have to be $15 an hour in FY 2025. Okay? Page 65 is our grants match. List all of our grants, and it does by the different funding types and the county match and other. And on page 66, it shows at the bottom our total grants are increasing about $6.9 million. We go into our fees and charges on page 67, and this lists all of our fees, including the ones that were proposed to change that was held at your public hearing. Okay. And then we have a lot of fees and changes, and then we will go, part of this approval today is including the annual budget, page B3, for the Board of Education. And this is signed by the superintendent, where it shows we have to turn this into MSDE within 7 days of your approved budget.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
what page, yeah?
Well, it's not a part of our package. It's just
B3,
part
way
of-
towards the back.
B3, right towards the back. It's
Page
not in our
86, basically.
package. It was something separate. But you can see the current expense, we have to let MSDE know by 7 days of $121 million. School construction of 11, yes, sir. Yeah, and then, yep, you're right. School construction, we have $11.3 million of county funding for their CIP, and then the debt service included for the Board of Ed in this budget. Their share is $4,027,778, and it's signed by the superintendent, and this will need to be signed also with by Commissioner President. Then we also have in here the MOE certification statement, which shows the amount. So you can see your amount in accordance with the education article is you're paying, including $121.5 million. The required MOE is what was in your FY 2022, the highest local appropriation at $114.5. And then also included, not in the package, but a part of this whole appeal is approval is your non-recurring cost for the Board of Education, and the amount listed is $0, which is consistent with your recommended budget that was approved on March 29th.
Could I ask you one question?
Yes, sir.
If we look at schools, we sign on page B3,
Yes.
$11.3 million in debt service, and we turn back to page 12, and it's $18.7 million.
Right. That difference is their state money they're receiving.
So they're receiving, we're giving them 11, they're getting 7 from the state.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then that is your FY 2023 approved budget. Any questions?
So they've actually lost students, but we funded them to levels above what we call MOE, which is, what I think trying to say is important is that typically student enrollment typically goes up.
Right.
And each student is required, the county is required to pay so much money, and I'm not opposed to any of that. My point is that it just seems like enrollment over the last 6 years or 8 years, this commissioner's been sitting here, has been choppy at best. And for the most part, it's been declining a little bit.
Yes.
Have we figured out where those kids have gone? Because the county has actually increased in population, and so I think it's reasonable that you would increase in students.
Right. I'm sure a good share of them are going to the parochial schools, and then there are a good number of them that are being homeschooled.
Okay, good point.
We just had an event the other night at KCA.
Yeah.
With Dr. Carson, and the premise behind it was not only to hear Dr. Carson, but the fact that their enrollment is so high that they have to expand that school now to accommodate the middle and high school students that want to go to KCA. I think that Riken numbers are up.
Yeah.
I think the private school, elementary schools are up. So I do see a trend from which you're asking, where are these kids? The birth rates are down, so we know that the lower elementary kids are not, they're not promulgating as quickly as it used to. But then simultaneously, the number of kids going to the elementary schools is down in the public side, and there's a pickup on the private side.
I guess my point is as a county, God bless these people who want to homeschool or send their kids to parochial school, because they're still paying taxes that pay for public school. And I've always been a public school advocate, and I continue to be. But it's really a savings to the county, to the constituency, when people send their kids to private schools or homeschool. It's just, all right, thank you. Just wanted to vent a little bit.
Thank you.
Council Commissioners? Okay, we have 6 motions. I'd like to do one at a time. We'll start motion 1.
I move to approve the fees and charges included in the public hearing.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion 2.
I move to approve and execute the revenue ordinance for fiscal year 2023, which sets the tax rates.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I move to approve and execute the appropriation ordinance for FY 2023, which identifies appropriations and includes compensation increases for appointed employees.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I move to approve the FY23 budget as set forth in the schedules and documents included in the submission to execute the budget estimates page, evidencing our approval of the itemized budget.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I move to approve and authorize the Commissioner President to execute the annual budget certification statement for FY 2023, page B3, and submit with MOE calculation certification to the Maryland State Department of Education.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I move to submit the executed FY 2023 non-recurring cost request from form and related documents to be submitted to the Maryland State Department of Education.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I just want to say, Mr. President, 12 years I've voted yes on 12 budgets.
Thank you.
And I think this is about the 5th time of 12 we've had unanimous consent on the budget.
Yes.
So thank you, Board.
All 6
for
motions
letting me leave with
unanimous.
12 of the 5 of the.
Very good. Give us a hand. Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Great job, everybody. Thank you very
What
much.
we did in this budget, though, we gave everybody a little bit. We gave some
Yes.
tax relief, we gave some pay raises. I mean, look, money's good. And like I've always said, it's easy to run something when the money's good.
Right.
And it gets tough when the money's tight. So
Yes.
thank God for our environment.
But yep, so thank you, Department of Finance, for all your work with this. We're meeting the needs of our citizens, and this is a good budget.
Yes.
Good job putting it all together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to staff and everybody else who contributed to this, too. It's just
No
not
doubt.
5 and 2, but it's everybody else out there. So thank you, staff, for everything you did.
And the people who provided feedback to us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. So we're done with all that. We do thank you all very much for that. Now we're going to move right into the Metcom presentation.
Give you an updated memo. Patty brought it to my attention this morning that we had the correct rates on there on our budget commission.
Uh-oh.
We wanted to include, to let you know, the correct amount.
It's lower, so that's good.
It's lower. How did you do that?
Before, so.
They'll get some questions for you about people getting hooked up and what they can afford and can't afford.
Stratcom here for the approval of their 2023 and plan FY 2024 to 2028. And George and Patty and Christy are here to, for your approval.
Thank you for the introductions, Jeanette. Good morning, President Guy and Commissioner members. Thank you for having us back. Last time we were here was April 24th with the draft budget presentation. In your packages today is the transmittal memorandum dated May 5th, 2022. It's very similar. In fact, it's almost exactly to what you received back about a month ago. It includes the same water and sewer summary sheets and the same individual project detail sheets. The reason that I say they're the same sheets that you've seen before is because we had no public comments. There were no additions or deletions to the capital budget resulting from our public hearing, nor were there any additional questions either from our board or from this board on the budget. The two big takeaways, I think, this year, number one is that this is the 5th year in a row we've been able to maintain our capital contribution charges for both water and sewer at the exact same rate, without any increases. And despite all the unprecedented cost increases, electricity and propane, gas, chemicals, supplies, materials, food even, our usage rates, that would be the amount of water you use, the amount of sewer that you use, those rates are only increasing by 3.4% for sewer and 2.7% for water. Now, we all know that 2.7% of a big number is a big number and 2.7% of a smaller number is a much smaller number. Those actually equate. The 3.4% for sewer equates to about 18 cents for every 1,000 gallons of water used. That's what our rate increase is going to be this year. And on the water side, that 2.7% rate increase equates to about 4 cents for every 1,000 gallons of water used. Your typical family uses less than 5,000 gallons. So our rate increase, despite the fact that at 3.4 and 2.7 sound like a small number, considering what we're seeing in the economy today, it actually is a small number overall at 4 cents and 18 cents. One item that's related to the capital budget that you won't see this year, that you'll probably see next year, we just completed what we call a facilities plan. It gave us a grade. I won't say it's a numerical grade. I won't say it's a letter grade, but I'd say it probably gave us about a C in terms of rehab and rehabilitation. It's similar to your asphalt overlay programs. You want to get ahead of roadways failing, but a lot of times we can't afford to get ahead and stay ahead. But one thing that we did recognize is with our debt capacity the way it is, because we're way below our debt requirements, we're able to fund next year a more aggressive rehabilitation and repair program. So what that does is it takes all of our water and sewer lines and it puts them on a faster track at the end of their useful life as opposed to being a reactive on the failure side. So you'll see a much more aggressive program when we come before you next year, maybe about $1 million a year, if not a little bit more, but we think that's necessary and overdue. But we were also told by our consultant that it's not uncommon for any utility or any public works department for that matter to be a little bit behind when it comes to those routine replacements.
Good, good.
That's really all we had this year as far as the closing comments on our capital budget. And of course, we're open to any questions that you have, but we've made no changes in the past month.
I move to approve the St. Mary's County Metropolitan Commission FY23 Capital Improvement Budget, CIB, and FY 2024 and through 2028 plan in accordance with Section 113-30 of the Code of St. Mary's County.
Second.
Discussion.
Please.
Tell me, it's come to my attention that some people in this hyperinflation period we're into, that's my term, hyper, that, you know, costs are going through the roof for whether it be food, gasoline, electricity, housing, and that sometimes there's issues paying your utility bills. And with that said, do you have a program that helps people who get behind on their utility bills? Do you have something that if someone can't make their payment, you work something out so they don't get disconnected, or if they can't make their payment, you don't, say, I'm not hooking you up until you
have a bunch of answers for that.
Oh, good, thank you.
On our website is a long list of charitable organizations, at least a dozen or so charitable organizations that pledge. We also are now members of, I forget the acronym, it's LIWAP, L-I-W-A-P. It's a low-income program that tries to keep people from being cut off that tries to keep people who are in arrears of 30 days or more, get their utility bills current so they don't get shut off. We just entered into this arrangement. It's federally funded. There's about $200,000 allocated to St. Mary's County. It's being done through the Department of Social Services. They vet those individuals because they have to be income eligible. They vet all those individuals. They basically pledge to us that they will make their bills current.
That's a third party that's doing it.
That's a third party that's
What are
doing
you
it.
guys doing to help?
That's what we're doing now.
Or
In the
we're
past-
working with a third party. What are you guys doing yourself to help?
We also offer payment plans.
Okay, so you do. So you don't have a situation where somebody can't pay a fee and you say, well, until you pay this fee. Because I've heard people are, struggling to, feed their families, and make their bills, and they get behind on whether it be a SMETCO bill or a METCOM bill, and next thing you know, this thing's, no longer 300, now it's 500, now it's 800, and it gets out of range, out of their ability to pay. So the thought is that if you have some kind of a program to help these people, now again, it's good to have third parties. I strongly believe that's a good thing, and God bless those people who are doing it. But I'd like to see you guys do a little bit more to help people instead of...
We make the payment plans on their terms, on their affordability, and we try to come up with a plan that meets their needs.
Well, Mr. Erickson, I like this conversation because, as it gets thrown to you, I think you're in the batter box and you can hit it right back, because the American Rescue Plan funding has a distinct allocation within the final ruling that allows funding from the American Rescue Plan allocation to St. Mary's County government to be used to ensure that water, sewer, and electric is kept on. So if you do end up in that situation and you want to do more, bring it back. See if there's an allocation that we can assist, and this way there is funding that can go for those that are most hit the hardest with that. And if there's money to be allocated, the board can allocate money towards that program, bring them up current based on all those vetting processes. And if there's already an established list through Social Security, we can just pull from that list because they've already been vetted.
Well, one of the concerns we have is these federal programs are one-time. To get these individuals one-time current. And what we see in our department is the recurrence of the same groups of people over and over and over. So other than subsidizing their payments consistently, it's hard to come up with a program because it seems to be the same general group of people.
The majority are tenants, are renters.
Yep.
And
Oh, really?
so the actual property owner has access to those funds.
Right.
And part of that requirement for their rent, the security of their rent, is they are not allowed to disconnect any services.
Right.
So tell me, so the landlord is paid? So if you have a tenant and they're on water and sewer, it's not their responsibility, it's the owner of the properties, landlords?
Ultimately, it is the owner.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of the complaints that we get aren't necessarily from the tenant, they're from the landlord, because those bills have piled up and they're ultimately responsible. And they signed an agreement with us, and they know full well. One thing that we changed several years ago, whenever you send your first past due notice, we used to not copy the landlord.
You do that now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, we do
Good
that.
idea.
Yeah.
So when the landlord calls us in an aggravated state, which happens quite regularly at the end of every month.
Yeah, I've heard.
We let them know that we did send them notice, and they should have been addressing their tenant. We're not the landlord.
Those are probably the people I've heard from.
But yeah,
I
that's...
didn't want to say that, but...
That's good, though.
But knowing the phone calls that come in, those are typically the people that we
Usually
hear
the
from.
landlord that's got the issue, yeah.
But we do hear a lot from the tenants. And believe us, I think the last group of notices, how many did we send out? Shut-off notices?
Close to 550.
Almost 550 notices.
Now, then they'll come in and make payment. So when we actually get to the point of disconnection, it's down to less than 200. But that's how.
Still 200.
Yes.
Tell me, is it worse now than it's been, or is it about the same?
No, actually, it's down.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Those numbers used to be significantly higher. So we say only 200, and you hear 200 people. You just turned off the wall. Believe us, it's a much lower number, but it doesn't take very long somehow for those bills to become paid soon thereafter.
I think noticing the landlord's a good idea, though, instead of them getting surprised with a...
It is, and Chapter 113 actually has a provision in it that says after 30 days, if you're in arrears, it says Metcom shut them off. We have taken the liberty of relaxing that to some degree, and our process is about 90 days. So we give multiple opportunities and payment plans. Look, there are customers in perpetuity. You've got to try to get them right.
Kind of like SMETCO, they got to have you.
But keep in mind that it's not just about the individuals with the American Rescue Plan. Landlords that have the tenants are also eligible for that funding in order to keep it up to date. So there's multiple programs like that throughout the state that have caught everything up because obviously their residents weren't impacted through COVID. Therefore, the payments to the landlord carries through. So keep your options on the table.
And as far as demonstrated need in the last month and a half through that federal grant program, Social Services has pledged over $9,800 to pay off people's bills.
Good.
A couple things. I'm happy to see, Section 113 being changed over the last couple of years to be more advantageous to everybody. But could you tell us a little bit more about reductions in EDU costs?
What do you mean?
Did you reduce the EDU charges?
We've kept them flat for the last 5 years.
Okay, I'm sorry.
With respect to connection charges, we recently revised the EDU table, and we forwarded that to Land Use and Growth Management to update the comprehensive plan. I think it's an attachment to either your comprehensive plan or your comprehensive water and sewer plan. But 1- and 2-bedroom apartments in particular, we believe that they only warrant about 0.5 EDUs instead of 1. So I think a recent development, what was the name of the development?
Victory Woods.
Victory Woods. They came in with their second phase of 75 units, and instead of charging them 1 EDU per unit, they only get charged a half of EDU per unit. So in effect, it's lowered their cost, but it really was not really, it was really the EDU allocation.
Correct.
The multiplier is still the same. It's still $18,000 for water and sewer EDUs, but it's only a half of an EDU they get charged, not a full EDU.
But that's important for apartment construction, that we have, that connection fee has just been discounted to make it more advantageous.
For 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, absolutely. We don't have that many, but we're seeing that as more of a trend, at least as of late. So
Look, 8 years I've been sitting here, or 7.5, how long it's been. I've been really impressed with what Metcom's done to change their paradigms, to get away from undrawn debt, to get away from constantly increasing the capital contribution fees, constantly overestimating the number of projected EDUs need, the use of 0.5 and 0.75 EDUs versus 1 for every single application, whether it be a four-bedroom home or a 1-bedroom apartment. It's been good stuff, and thank you.
You're welcome, sir. We appreciate everything this board has done. Maybe a different board next year.
It will be.
But nonetheless,
It will be.
It will be a different board.
The
I know for
majority
two
of you
are gone.
the majority of you will most likely be back, and it's just been a pleasure. And to your point, Commissioner O'Connor, thank you for the ARP money in FY22. It was all used, and I understand there's some allocations in 23, which ties back into my last comment today, Commissioner Hewitt. We did include in our budget for FY23 the design of those sewer extensions for St. Clement Shores.
Thank you.
So before you get
I know I'm on your back a lot, but
before
look,
we
I
get
appreciate
into the discussion or the argument of who's going to fund and how we're going to fund it, I'm going to argue if you don't have the land, like on a road project, and you don't have the design, there's no point in talking about the construction, so let's get it designed, and we'll spend next year trying to figure out how to fund that.
You made the same point when you were Director of Public Works about FDR Boulevard.
That is true.
And again.
And Phase 3 is right there at the Elks Lodge yesterday. We went down there yesterday, and they're moving fast. Great Mills Trading Post is doing a great job down there.
They are actually. Yeah. But again, you're consistent, and that's important.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for all the hard work you've done. Really.
Anytime.
So we need a motion?
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any disapproval? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, it's like we go right into commissioner time, and we'll start with Commissioner Hewitt today.
Oh, thank you. Okay, today we passed the final budget. That's probably the most important thing a commissioner board does. Now, Commissioner Morgan made note of 5-0. That's a good thing. I've had my share of voting against budgets. But I think what this budget did, it gave something to everybody. It gave income tax breaks to some people. It kept a constant yield, or no, it didn't keep the constant yield, but there was no increase in the property tax rate. And we did a little bit more for our deputies and our teachers and our county employees, and we provided more amenities out to the public. It's again, we're operating in good financial times. But going forward, next year, year after, this American Rescue money, this stimulus money we're seeing, is going to be going away. On top of that, we have this inflation that's going on that's really driving up the cost of everything. I mean, it's not unusual for people to pay $75, $100, $125 to fill up their vehicle and gasoline and try and get back and forth to work. People are making tough decisions about, do they want to pay their Metcom bill or their SMETCO bill or food bill, and Lord knows you can't go to the store these days without spending $100, $200, and you look in your cart and you don't see much in there. We need to be vigilant that we are doing the right thing as far as our income and our expenses. But we got that done. The other thing is we passed the Metcom's budget. I've been on Metcom's, but I shouldn't say it that way. I've been looking for accountability at Metcom. And the point is, they've provided it. 5 years in a row of not increasing their capital contributions. That's been good. It's good for all of us. It's good for the county. It helps us move, helps us grow. Now, last night I was at the Friends of the Library dinner at the front porch in Leonardtown. Very nice affair. Michael Blackwell was the speaker. Talked about the challenges libraries face, and Lord knows they do. But what's good is the Friends of the Library finally got to hold their book sale at the fairgrounds. First one in 3 years. They gave them a check for over $30,000 in the books they sold. It was, people would say, hey, look, who reads a book anymore? You can read it on your phone, you can read it on your iPad. Who actually buys a book and holds it? Just goes to show there's a lot of people that still do that. This weekend's Memorial Day weekend. I use the term start of summer. Lord knows, this past weekend we got a taste of summer. So be careful of, these high temperatures. If you're out in the sun, be careful, stay hydrated. And back to the boating. If you're doing boating this weekend, hey, be careful. Thank you.
Mr. Eric.
Very good. Over this past weekend, I was fortunate enough to be able to go down and represent the commissioners at the American Legion Post 255 in Ridge. They had a delayed banquet for their baseball team. So a couple interesting things. Last summer, I think we all watched, the whole county watched, as their baseball team won states, won regionals, and went to the World Series for the first time. Phenomenal team. They did really good. They showed a bunch of the highlights. But that American Legion Post sponsors more baseball teams than any other post in the entire country. So that's very impressive. They also do something that, to our knowledge and to their knowledge, no one else does. They give scholarships to their players. If they play in their last 3 years of eligibility, they get a $500 scholarship to college. So thank you to the American Legion Post 255 for all you do. It's wonderful. It's just a huge community focus there, and it's just a really, really good time. And Memorial Day is coming up next Monday. If you are available, come on down to the American Legion Post for their Memorial Day celebration. They've got their Rolling Thunder Bikers Rally. It's a really good presentation that they do, a very nice ceremony. We'll be there, and you definitely want to come if you can and join in their celebration. I want to send our condolences to the Kessler family. Over the weekend, they lost the patriarch of the family, Leonard Kessler. He was a great man. He was a friend. He leaves behind a very strong legacy and has done a lot for this community. So our condolences go out to the Kessler family. Finally, this afternoon, we have our airport open house. So for the 13 people watching live right now on YouTube. Come on out and join us. It's a rainy day, but we'll be inside in the terminal. It'll be a good time. We passed the budget today. It's a great budget. Thank you to everyone who was involved. That's all from me. Thank you.
John.
We can boost how many people are on YouTube by doing something controversial and recommending a business in the county. So, with that being said, Commissioner Colvin has slacked off on what day it is. So I have pulled up what today's day is, and it has a multitude of things. Denny's Endless Breakfast Day, Aviation Maintenance Technician Day, National Asparagus Day, National Brothers Day, National Caterers Appreciation Day, National Escargot Day, National Scavenger Hunt Day. So there's something for everybody in that list. But I wanted to get Commissioner Colvin back on track because I loved hearing what day he came up with.
Appreciate it.
Strawberry Festival down in Chaptico was very well attended. The strawberry shortcake was amazing. I had 2 bites, and then my son stole my plate and ate the rest of it because it was that good. But it was a nice family event, and in fact, our very own Julie Birch prepared a part of the cookbook that is a gift for my mother. So it was very nice to see that. So, and all the efforts that go in down there. And of course, it's for a great cause. Not only boating safety, motorcycle safety. The weather is getting warm. Remember to look twice before you turn, change lanes. Those bikes will come up on you. Check your blind spots as best as possible. And remember that they are going to be out there. For Memorial Day, Many celebrate, barbecue, time with family and friends. And for ultimately, let's not forget the meaning of Memorial Day, not to damper the mood that is of the celebration, but we must celebrate the lives of those that gave so much for us to be able out there and do that. So I just ask at some point during the day that you observe the sacrifices that were made by so many service members so we could be out there enjoying these moments with our family and friends in our free nation. So it's very important. Last, but certainly not least, the Chopticon Lady Braves. They are 2 away from clinching everything. So, that's it. They are 2 away. They are playing fantastic softball. So if you're not following them, check them out on Facebook. You can get some great photos from there. They are going to be, I think it's, tomorrow. They will be up the road playing, and then they got one more after that. So best of luck to them, and keep up the amazing work. And Chopticon, you're always doing great things, bringing home the championships on so many different levels, and I'm pretty sure there'll be some celebrating on this one too. So best of luck.
Thank you. I'm going to be a little bit long today, but I'm going to do some things first. Last Saturday, Dr. Ben Carson came down, gave a very eloquent speech to everyone on his life and his life story. It was probably attended by some 800 people, so it was really good to hear Dr. Carson, his words. Yesterday, both Commissioner Guy and I had the opportunity to go over to Calvert County at Solomons to talk about the bridge replacement. And we had Congressman Hoyer, Senator Cardin, myself, Commissioner Guy, Commissioner Hance, Senator Bailey, et cetera, Rachel Jones. And we talked about the replacement. And the message from Senator Cardin was we had put over $400 million into bridges in the infrastructure budget. And we got $1 million for the bridge. The bridge is going to cost about $750 million to replace. So we've had little discussions with this for 12 years, at least through this board and the Tri-County Council, saying the bridge is our #1 infrastructure project, and we're now still about $750 million short. So I know that in Annapolis they're sitting on a lot of money, and maybe a lot of that money could be directed down here to both St. Mary's and Calvert for the bridge replacement, which we know is sorely needed. As Commissioner Hewitt pointed out, Friends of the Library, Commissioner Hewitt points, or Commissioner Collins pointed, Commissioner O'Connor's pointed out Chopticon Girls and Memorial Day celebration. So now I want to talk about budget. So 12 years we've had the budget. and I want to give a little reflection, if I could, please, so people sort of understand what has taken place in my eyes over 12 years. First, let's understand that it's a competition amongst departments. Everyone wants as much as they can for themselves. Board of Ed always wants money, Sheriff wants money, all the departments want money, and there's always more requests than there is money. So the 5 commissioners who get to sit here get to, sort of judge and arbitrate as to who gets what money, and we do the very best we can. And some years people are happy, and some years people are sad. This year is a really, really good year, so I hope that people are very happy with what they got. But as Commissioner Hewitt pointed out, budgets are also forward-thinking. We are good this year, we're going good into next year. As I've always said, when I get done with this budget, I've already started next year's, but at this point in time, as I said, I'm moving on. But I want some people to understand some rhetoric out there, to understand what has happened in these 12 years that I've sat here. So I wrote down some notes. First of all, when we discuss school funding and fully funding a Board of Education budget, that's maintenance of effort. Meaning we must fund each year the amount we funded last year, and at that point in time it's considered fully funded. For 11 of the last 12 years, the boards of commissioners have always overfunded the Board of Education to help support their needs and their requirements. Hence, the money goes up, and if we overfund, that becomes our bottom line for the following year. I think when I look at this thing, we have to discuss what has happened in these 12 years. Things have really changed over there, and I'm not defending them, and I'm not attacking them at the same time. But when I look at what happened in 2010 or so, we had a graduation rate that stayed stagnant through the early 90s to around 87, 88%. And then in 2010, 2012, there were some things done to help to enhance school grades with STEM programs, and STEM programs were purposely put to Great Mills High School, Spring Ridge Middle School, etc. However, as time went on, we started to see from the last 8 years, the graduation rates have begun to improve. So remember, stagnant about 87% for a number of years, funding going in on data. Data could be used to manipulate to get goals. STEM programs being moved into these middle schools and high schools to help achieve greater score parity. And then we've seen the last 8 years, our graduation rates have jumped up to somewhere a couple years ago around 94%. The state average is around 87%. And because of COVID, we've had a little bit of drop off of 1 or 2%, but we're still 5 or 6 points ahead of the state average on graduation. What also has happened here is that costs, because of Annapolis, have shifted. In 2012, the state used to pick up most of the pension costs. Through the BRFA, the Budget Reconciliation and Finance Act, they just crossed that up and said, counties, now you get to pick up the pensions for the teachers. Simultaneously, the school systems, the state also said, well, we've decided we're paying too much money to you guys for school costs, school construction costs. So in 2012, the ratio was 75% state, 25% county. Today, that rate is 58% state, 42% county. So when we look at schools and the importance of schools, one thing that the larger counties have been able to do is they build new schools. And as they build new schools, they get a preferential treatment on that ratio. We've built one new school here in the 12 years I've sat here. That's Duke Elementary. But we've done a great job renovating the schools we've had, fixing air conditioning system, replacing roofs, et cetera, along the way. And we bear a higher cost, but also the state has another formula in there. And the formula sits there and says, well, because you didn't build new schools, we get to take more money away from you, and you built on that cost yourself. It's up to you. So when I see next year that we have $18.7 million in school construction, as I ask the question, the county's funding 8, or the county's funding 11, the state's funding 7. When I look at law enforcement, we've done a tremendous job over the last few years to try to find ways to increase the pay to our sheriffs and our corrections officers through a number of steps. Please bear in mind that this year, in talking to both Calvert and ourselves, we haven't rated a single law enforcement officer to switch counties. But what we're stuck with is competition. And the competition actually comes from Charles County because they have a codified agreement that whatever the state police gets, the Charles County deputies get the same. So when Annapolis makes a decision to just to increase the salaries of state police officers, counties down here, such as ourselves in Calvert, have no choice but try to find ways to catch up because we want to keep our officers here. And I'm proud to sit there and say we've been able to do this. But the ironic part about this is if you go up to the north end of the county, go through Wicomico Shores and things like, notice how many Charles County deputy cars are sitting in people's driveways. So they work in Charles, but they want to live in St. Mary's because it's a better place to live, it's a more affordable place to live, and you have a better school system. On funding, we have funded numerous projects here over the past few years. We have, my first year, the renovation of Spring Ridge School after the fire, Duke Elementary, a new library and senior center, parks, our school upgrades, our infrastructure, our detention centers, our community-based policing, FDR Boulevard, our animal shelters, and there's probably more that I've forgotten along the way. But people have been critical of spending. Now, when I came into office, we were paying on debt somewhere around 4%. Our last bond financing was 1.6%. Over these years, we've refinanced over $68 million in debt to bring our costs down. So I ask you, how many of you have gone out and bought a new house over the last few years with record low interest rates? How many of you have refinanced your houses with new low interest rates? So when we look at construction and building, from my point of view, you build when rates are low, and you take advantage of those interest rates to make things better for your citizens. And I think that's something this board should be proud of, and past boards should be proud of, because we've used the money judiciously. We've taken care of numerous needs in this community that have been there, and people have been asking for. I would sit there and say, what else have you guys done in these 12 years? Well, we're one of a very few handful of counties who's fully funded our OPEB account. And Commissioner Hewitt's brought this up numerous times. OPEB, that's the retirement accounts for our county employees. We're probably one of only 2 or 3 counties in the state that have met our OPEB obligation. We have put $3 million this year extra into our LOSAP. That's to make sure that our volunteers and our fire and our emergency services have the retirement money that we promised them a long time ago. Our emergency services, we've seen the effects of COVID, and we need to realize that we're going to have to move more money to paid crews due to this, and we are addressing that gradually. Wealth index, something most people don't understand. And the wealth index is one of those wonderful formulas that is put forth by Annapolis that sits there and says, because you have more income, you get to pay more money. And St. Mary's County has always been at the bad end of the wealth index. We have the base. We're very fortunate to have a number of high-tech, high employers. The base provides great revenues to us. But at the same time, for every dollar we send to Annapolis, we get about 40 cents back. So the wealth index is a penalty to us. Whereas when you look at something like Prince George or Baltimore City, well, they get the reciprocal rate. If they pay $1, they may get $1.25 back. So the wealth index hurts us, and that will be especially true in the future when we see more things coming down the road. Highway user revenue. We have $25 million this year allocated in our capital expenses for highways. Highway user revenue is another one of those great formulas that were in Annapolis. They took money away from us so it could be put towards mass transit projects and things like that in the metropolitan area. Well, we are now, since I've been here, $70 million short of what in 2010, what our highway revenue user was, and if we kept that on a constant basis, we're using taxpayer dollars to fix the highways and to build the roads that people want because this highway user revenue formula that takes money up the road. And oh, by the way, if you have the price of gas today, we have a dispute going on between Governor Hogan and Comptroller Francho, the price of gas will go up 7 cents a gallon on July the 1st until they can figure out a way to maybe find a medium there. And as Commissioner Hewitt said, inflation is killing us. Gas is up to $5 a gallon, but you're going to pay 7 cents more per gallon starting the July 1st so we can push more money up the road. Lexington Park. People say, what have you done on Lexington Park? I can say since we have sat here, this board has been supportive, and over $70 million of infrastructure improvements have gone into the Lexington Park area. So I'm very proud of the fact that I represent Lexington Park, and $70 million of money has gone to Lexington Park in that area, and that's the highest amount of money we've put into any one single concentration in these 12 years, so I thank all the boards I've served with. And last, I want to thank the county employees. You know, when I look at what you guys have done for us, it's been tremendous. I mean, when the Board of Education comes in, EASMC, CSMC, the union, they're all sitting there and they're representing them. When the Sheriff Department comes in, we've had the FOP and my buddy Mike Merrick always sit in the back defending them. But there hasn't been to defend the county employees. So over these years, we've tried to do our very best to help you, to keep your benefit package the way it is so it's not costing you more money. And I congratulate you on your service to us over these 12 years for everything. So with that, my 2 note cards are done. I just wanted to get some data out there for people so when you start hearing things during the election about, you know, this is great or that is bad, the data is all there, but you have to have the corporate memory to remember what you want to remember, and you're going to spout what you don't want to remember for other reasons. So, as I said, thank you to everybody. Thanks to this board and the previous boards for passing these budgets, because not every budget is perfect and not every budget is great. But there's more good in a budget than bad, and I'm glad to hear that this year there's a lot more good. Thank you. I'm done.
That is great. I second that motion. Because everything you said, of course, especially in my 8 years here now, almost 8 years, and 8 budgets, we have done a great job at everything we've done in this county as far as servicing the people of St. Mary's County. That's what we're all here for, providing services. And definitely want to commend our staff at the county level for all they've done. And I appreciate all the hard work that all of us put out, especially the last couple of years during this COVID. It's really been a trying time for all of us. And we've done our best to continue servicing the people of St. Mary's County with this closing time. I have nothing else to put in there because Commissioner Todd Morgan has covered about everything that we have accomplished, and it's been a tremendous road to go through. And I appreciate everybody's help on this. I got to admit to schools, I got to one thing he didn't mention about, you know, we realized that we were only here a few years when they started this Kerwin Commission, and actually it's the Road of Excellence in Education for Maryland. And I'm proud to say that as of this past fall, St. Mary's County there's 24 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland, 23 counties in the city of Baltimore. There's only 7 that are already meeting this Road of Excellence for our education. And I'm proud to say St. Mary's County is one of them. We have fully funded teacher raises, whatever the school district needs to continue a great education for our people. There was a little blip this past year or two because of COVID. There was a downturn in some of the number of students, and that showed just a slight decrease in our graduation rate, because the graduation rate is followed by when someone enters the 9th grade until they graduate. Now, there's about 200 or 300 students out of the high school that didn't show up. We're not tracking exactly where they went, but we've already explained that where we think they went. And that's fine. That's fine, but we still have kept a high graduation rate. And that's to the great school system we have. And we have been fully supportive, and we will continue supporting that. And we're pretty much on this road of excellence in education. The state of Maryland has passed a law that all the counties have to do. I will tell you that some of these counties are not just millions of dollars, but tens of millions of dollars behind in trying to reach the goal that we've already reached. So I thank everybody at this board, at least the last 8 years that we've been here, and all that we have done to continue this. Once again, law enforcement, emergency services, and we have fully funded and made the appropriate changes when we had to. Unfortunately, some of our volunteers fell off on the emergency medical service. We quickly jumped on that and had to hire a lot of new FTEs for EMTs and paramedics. And we met the goal. The goal was to, when you call 911, we hopefully want somebody to respond to you within minutes. And that's what we've set goals for. So thank everybody for that. I'm proud that this board, if I read everything right, we had 6 motions on the budget. Everybody agreed with it. So I'm going to see 5 signatures on that page for this budget. And I thank everybody here for all the work they've done to get a good budget together. And we are fully funded, and that's just part of doing business. With that being said, I have said all I need to say, and I appreciate all the commissioners here that have worked all this, especially this last eighth budget right now that I've been working with. And I now need a motion to go into a closed session.
Move to enter into closed session to discuss personnel.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it.